All right, let's try this one more time. Um, so Beto, the conversation was going to be about Beto. And Pat, I didn't recharge my battery at this point. I just plugged the computer in. I have a limited. When my wife was here, my wife took some of the cords because she was going to a different part of Europe. She was going to London before she was going back home, and so we only have. I only have like 2 European chargers. One of those European chargers stopped working, meaning I only have 1 charger. So if I need to charge devices, I have to charge them one at a time. The laptop can be off or can run on batteries for a period of time, but the laptop needs to be plugged in at a certain point, and I have to unplug other things. So that's how I recharged the battery so fast. I didn't recharge them at all. I just unplugged. I just plugged the laptop in. I want to talk about an article David Sirota wrote on Beto. Everybody keeps telling me that Beto is this flaming progressive, and I think a lot of this comes from he's relatively young, he's not necessarily a bad-looking guy, and he just mutters and says stuff that has a certain degree of rhetoric associated with it without any degree of substance associated with it. Well, David Sirota just looked at his record, and David Sirota gives an analysis in The Guardian, and so I want to talk about the analysis that David Sirota gave. This guy, who people keep telling me is this flaming progressive, apparently was voting for big banks and against climate change regulation during his time in Congress. So let's take a look at David Sirota's article. I'm not going to keep this one long. This will be relatively short. Beto O'Rourke frequently voted for Republican legislation, analysis reveals. A review of his 6-year record in Congress shows Democrats frequently opposed his own party and supported bills that boosted the fossil fuel industries and Trump's immigration policy. You don't say. Now, and by the way, I was for Beto when he was running for Congress. When he was running for Senate. I wanted him to beat Ted Cruz because Ted Cruz is a goddamn monster. A religious maniac at the least. Beto would have been a better choice. But now everybody is telling me Beto 2020, Beto 2020. I think this is nonsense. And so if Beto is going to be for 2020, people need to look at Beto's record before making that assertion. One of the guys for Justice Democrat, I did an article yesterday talking about the funding for Justice Democrat. He releases a tweet saying he wants Beto to run for Congress, which immediately gives me pause and questions about him. So right here, Beto's spirited run for the U.S. Congress. Yes, that's great. Beto's spirited run for the U.S. Congress in Texas last month has prompted powerful voices in the Democratic Party establishment to tout the outgoing Texas congressman as a 2020 potential candidate who, as a party standard bearer, would offer a vision of America contrasting that against Republicans. However, a new analysis of the congressional votes from the nonprofit organization Capital in Maine shows that even as Beto represented one of the most solidly Democratic congressional districts in the United States, he has frequently voted against the majority of House Democrats in support of Republican bills and Trump administration priorities. In support of Republican bills, Trump priorities. Capital in Maine reviewed 167 votes that O'Rourke cast in his House in opposition to the majority of his own party during his 6-year tenure in Congress. Many of these votes were not progressive dissents along other left-leaning lawmakers, but instead votes to help pass Republican-sponsored legislation. O'Rourke has voted for GOP bills that his fellow Democratic lawmakers say reinforce Republicans' anti-tax ideology, chipped away at the Affordable Care Act, weakened Wall Street regulation, and boosted the fossil fuel industry and bolstered Donald Trump's immigration policy. Consumer, environmental, public health, and civil rights organizations have cast legislation backed by O'Rourke as aiding big banks, undermining the fight against climate change, and supporting Trump's anti-immigration agenda. During the previous administration, Barack Obama's White House issued a statement slamming 2 GOP bills backed by the 46-year-old Democrat. Even Obama slamming it. O'Rourke votes for the Republican legislation, which at times put him at odds with the majority of Texas Democratic lawmakers in Congress, underscores his membership in the new Democrat coalition, the faction of House Democrats most closely aligned with business interests, essentially the Clinton wing of the party. The Clintonites. We call them Blairites in labor, but Clintonites. Regardless of the image and the aura that he casts around himself, Beto has voted with Republican with Republican agendas on numerous occasions. This guy's not a lefty by any stretch of the imagination. He's not part of the progressive caucus, which people have made the point is not all that progressive, at least from the standpoint of what we would consider to be the left. And meaning, even to that tepid degree, Beto doesn't even make the bar. Just saying. Like I said, this video wasn't necessarily going to be long, but it was trying to put a knife in this thing that this guy is some kind of flaming lefty, and all of these people are trying to draft him. They're trying to draft him because he puts them in the mind of Obama, a white Obama. Mutters and spouts stuff that sounds good, but has no substance at all once you kind of rip open the packaging and there's nothing there. Just a corporate shill. Like I said, this one was not meant to be long, so I will end this one here. Dave put a B in David Sirota's bonnet. What's happening, Joseph Pace? What's happening, Wesley Walker? Yeah, they put a B in what's his name's bonnet on this, David Sirota, and I like it. I like it. Because they went after David Sirota for something that was a tweet. Now, let's be honest. When David Sirota put that tweet out there, that tweet wasn't innocuous. I'm calling BS. The tweet was innocuous. What's happening, Vermont Bread? And what's happening, Kalita? It wasn't innocuous. The tweet in and of itself had a context, but the context was self-generated, if that makes sense. Showing that Beto had accepted all of this money, the second highest money from oil companies, and just leaving it there. Like he said, he didn't do an article on anything else. But David Sirota knew that when he put that tweet out there, the context was, this guy is getting all of this money from these oil companies. How can you expect him to push for your interests, the interests of a planet for that matter, over the interests of these people who are putting money in his pocket from this particular industry? That set off alarm bells from a bunch of corporate Democrats, Clintonites, who didn't like the fact that Sirota exposed that, and in not liking the fact that Sirota exposed that, attacked him as some kind of, you know, Bernie bro. He's a neo-lib, he's from Texas. He's from, yes, but people act like because he's from Texas, that explains it. You know, whether he's from Texas or the moon, it doesn't necessarily matter. The issue is the policies that he's willing to push, and if, inspired by where he's from, he's pushing those particular policies, then let's just get away with this idea that this guy is some kind of lefty. Just saying. Yeah, Galita, good job, David Sirota, indeed. People should have learned from Obama that talk is cheap. But they didn't, Wes. They didn't. They didn't at all. They fall for the same nonsense when it comes in a pretty decent package. And they're hopeful that he does X or Y or Z, and he gets in there and he just does the same thing that all of them have done. We can do better than white Obama. Just saying. Takes oil money, doesn't challenge his AIPAC representative about human rights atrocities in the occupied territories. And it goes beyond that. He was pulled off of that pledge because it was found that, again, he was taking oil money in excess of $200. When we say oil money, one of the things that Nier Tandy kind of made this point is like, well, that's disingenuous because that's from people. Yes, it's from people of a particular industry, many of which are corporate executives. If I'm not mistaken, like 75% were executives. And is there really a difference than an oil company giving him a check, or whether a large number of people who are for a particular industry putting money in its pocket? I don't think there is. So, you know, they can say whatever they want on that point. Get ready to finger Jill Stein again. You have nowhere else to go. We'll see, Bob, maybe. And finger Jill Stein is nasty. Finger Jill Stein is nasty. I've met her once. In fact, I was with Independent Outsider. We were at Independent Outsider. I was at one of the conferences, I think the Left Forum, and I was getting a sandwich. What is it? A turkey Reuben, no sauerkraut, add bacon and cheese. Well, I think bacon comes on it, but add cheese. Toasted wheat. And what's his name? Independent Outsider. He says, "Hey, you're progressive soapbox, Jamal." And I was like, "Holy shit, I've been recognized." That's a bizarre experience, because immediately when somebody recognizes you, you have no idea who the fuck they are. It's odd for somebody to know you when you don't necessarily know them. And it's like, yeah, I'm aware I do videos, but I don't see myself that way. It doesn't occur to me in that sense. But him and I hung out for the next day or two, and we end up meeting Jill Stein. Jill Stein was on her way to the car. I stopped by. I was like, "Hey, how's it going? It was nice talking. You running for president and all that good stuff." And I wanted to ask her a few questions, but she was busy and she wanted to go. There'll be no thing in Jill Stein, Bob. None of that. Face of your superstar, my ass, like a porn star. That's like calling a porn star a celebrity. It doesn't apply. It doesn't apply to just to a show on YouTube. Beto is probably likely not going to be the Democratic nominee, Bernie or bust. I don't think he is either, but you never know. Obama wasn't thought to be the Democratic nominee either, and all of a sudden, look where he was. He's corporate. Yes, SFX, that's true, but you have a lot of people who are perfectly okay with him being that way, and they just want more of the same. Keep in mind, that wing of the party is not on board for any real climate change legislation. They're not on board for Medicare for all. They're not on board for the expansion of Social Security. They're not on board for free college tuition. They're not on board for any of that stuff. That stuff is tepidly to the left. Just saying. No, nobody's out here saying get rid of cash. I think I've made that argument before, but that's not where I argue from. The position that I argue from is, what does the American public want? And to try to influence that opinion in a way to make the argument to say, look, if this is what you want, I'm trying to push the conversation, the Overton window, the debate, and hold that debate of saying, this is where you could be. That's my point. That's my goal. That's my goal. They're on board Sam Cedar's lap. Oh, that's funny. That's funny. I'm not surprised. I am not surprised in the least. Yes, Bernie or bust, at least for this person. If it's not Bernie, then they could all burn as far as I care. All right, I'll end this here. I didn't want this one to go long. Have you watched the spoof indie flick Obamaland yet? It's sort of a take on Man in the High Castle. No, I haven't. False dichotomy is a tool of manufacturing consent. The wild part about this is one of my subscribers sent me a video of Jean-Luc Picard for Christmas, and I laughed my ass off. It's a clip where the various things Jean-Luc Picard say is being spliced together in order for him to say like Jingle Bells or Merry Christmas or something like that. But it is so funny. Are you aware of the Church's action on climate change? Yes. 15-year-old Greta Thunberg told the world leaders you are not mature enough to deal with the problem of climate change. Yes. I saw that. I have to make judgments in what I show, and I can never I always have this pang of guilt, if I'm being honest, because I can't get to all the stories that I want to get to. There's this feeling of not being, it's so bizarre, of not being up to snuff, of like, there's so many stories, and of those stories, the ones that I'm interested in and the ones that I want to put on, and like this video was supposed to be like 6 minutes. This video has gone into 15 minutes. It perpetuates. Sometimes the video goes for like an hour and so forth, in which case it cuts the number of videos that I can get through in the course of a day. You have some channels that don't do their videos live, so they do those videos, it's like 5-minute video and they're out. I like to talk to my audience, and And because I like to talk to my audience and I run my mouth, the videos tend to go a little bit longer than what I would typically have those videos go. The last video, I think it went for like 30 minutes. I was getting into an argument with Gardenome, I think Pat. I think they were right in that argument. I think I lost that argument. And I think I even agree with him to some degree. I think I agree with to some degree. This idea of pushing on, of getting, of I agree with him somewhat. That societal change is done through the lower rung of the society, meaning you change public opinion first and then you get the political edifice to change itself. So where can I get my Jamarl branded yellow vest? That feels so much like, oh man, it feels like taking advantage of something that's awesome, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I know what you're talking about, like getting like a T-shirt with a yellow vest or something like that, and then branding it. Oh, it feels off. It feels off. I tried to avoid it. Yeah, we know it's hard to let go of something that you like. Time passes by unexpectedly. Yeah. I suppose I could get more stories done if I cut this part out, but I personally like this part. All right, I'm gonna end this because this is gone for 60 minutes. But what I've resorted to doing is cutting the video to just have the conversation with the audience in a live video and then cut it so it could be shorter for audiences to get more views on the video itself, because people tend to click on smaller videos. It's the best of both worlds. It's the best that I got. Of course, that leads to me, being up at 3 in the morning and doing the videos. Let's talk about merch then. I need a fedora flag that says Progressive Soapbox. Now that, fair enough. I don't know how to get that though. Like, I don't know how to get them to do hats. I don't know how to do that, Wes. I can try to find out, but I'm not certain how to do that. One of my subscribers hit me up today, and he wants to hang out. I'm in Berlin. He lives here. We met at one of the conferences in the States, and my wife chastised me because I didn't spend longer talking to him. But him and I are going to hang out at some bar tonight after a show. I'm going to a show this evening, and after that, we're still going to hang out. If I get kidnapped, just know that's what's taking place. Upstate Raider, good morning. What's happening, Upstate Raider? All right, guys, I'm going to end this. If you guys enjoy the content, please feel free to share, like, subscribe. You can always support through Patreon. Probably a Federation versus Cleon chess set. They have those. I think they have those, Bob. Yeah, I think they already made those. I've seen chess sets of... I've seen Star Trek chess sets, and I think I've seen that chess set somewhere. I could be wrong. My memory could be lying to me, but it's possible. Thanks all. You have a good one. I see you shortly. I have another story immediately after this, so once this resets, I'll be right back.